How you doing, everyone? This is Master Welch, and I'm here with Jeff's Retro Gaming. How you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So, as things are going on today, you got any plans for the day that are significant for you?
I don't know if I'd say significant. I mean, just work as usual. I've got some stuff waiting for me in the shop that's going to require a little bit of time tonight. I'm going to be taking a little break to go watch one of my daughter's tennis match late this afternoon, so that's pretty cool. Other than that, it's business as usual.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, man. Yeah, I do media digitization, and I'm working on a large 8 millimeter cassette tape job for somebody that
Oh
are
wow,
tapes that are probably 30 years old. It's like from the late '80s into the '90s, and, been trying to work on that since I got back from, I was out working on fires here this spring already, and, been trying to get this done prior to that, and luckily the client was understanding that, I was out in the field, and,
sure.
anyways, I gotta get that knocked out. I got one more box to do, and it's been quite the this is probably the biggest, digitization job I've had yet, but,
So do you do this like self-owned business, like you're on your own, or do you do this through a company that you work for?
nope, I'm my own business,
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
and they actually it's been picking up quite a bit too, surprisingly, in the last 6 months, so I think I'm hitting that point where, I'm gonna see that gain of interest, and people know
Sure.
that, how I work my advertising, that you can set your region, you know?
Yep.
And I think that might be actually starting to work because 'cause I'm getting some folks that are a little further out from me, and, anyways, yeah, I mean, just like you,
Cool.
man, business.
Sure. Sure.
So, we'll get into it today. I wanted to bring you on just because I've been following, your works through, channels, and, I'm really into these, folks that mod. I think that the services that you guys do are is really amazing, really technical, bringing these visions from these mods to life, and, it takes smart, level-handed people to do this, and, I'm just glad you're out there, and I hope to get your services into some of my consoles here one of these days.
Sure.
So, yeah, so, uh, we'll get into the questions I have for you today, Jeff, and, you can call me by my first name, Cody, that's fine, and, what is your with gaming itself, what is your gaming history?
The first I mean, my first experience or exposure to gaming that I have memories of would be with the original Nintendo, front loader. Um, I never owned one, but I had cousins and friends and family that had them, and anytime I'd go over to their house, I'd sit down and watch them play, and then I'd get to play, and I'd be asking all these questions like, "Wow, this seems really amazing," and I remember I would talk to my parents and be like, "Oh, I really want one of these," and they kinda were, I don't know if that's a great idea," and I actually wasn't until the next generation, my first console that I actually owned at home was the Sega Genesis. That was what I got for Christmas one year, um,
That's awesome.
with the original Sonic as a pack-in title, and it's
Yep.
one of those kind of formative memories I have, like, there's certain memories I have over the whole span. I mean, I've been playing games since then, but you think of those few memories that just really stick with you, and just that Christmas morning after everything was done, my dad helped me get it hooked up to the TV, and I sat there and played it, and it was kinda all over from that point, and I think my parents realized that they were right to be cautious about bringing that into the house because it was all downhill from there as far as they're concerned. Just I was obsessed. I had to play it all the time. I constantly wanted new games for it. It's just all I wanted to do.
Jeff, that is very, very much what my scenario was when we got our Genesis. It was a Christmas gift, and
Mhm.
it was the Sonic 1 pack-in,
Okay.
and
Yep.
and I and I was totally hooked on that thing. Like, I was already hooked on Sega Master System, and,
Okay.
uh, with that, yeah, I mean, that really it took me through, pretty much the entire Genesis life cycle, and, I was always playing Genesis, man, and, like, I mean, I did do sports and biking and run
Same.
around with friends, but I yeah, man, like, it was basically when I think of that time period, that's why I became such a gamer is because of that system.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, honestly, I was actually I mean, I have photos from that Christmas, and I remember, like, the look on my face. It's like that typical one you see when people share, and it's the kid, like, with his eyes bug-eyed, and he's, like, s screaming as he rips the paper off. I recall being a little maybe disappointed only because, like, deep inside, I'm like, "Well, wait a minute, this doesn't say Nintendo on it," and I mean, I was a kid, I didn't there was no internet, I hadn't gotten into gaming magazines at that point. I don't remember what age I would have been or exactly what year I got this, so I just didn't know what Sega was, but I'm like, "It's a video game, I see a controller, it's showing a TV on the box, this is awesome," but I distinctly remember, like, well, can it play Mario on it? Because that's what I had seen and played at friends' houses, so, but that wore off pretty quick. Once I had it and I started being able to rent games and discover more of the library, I didn't even think about it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's funny how you brought up your parents' apprehension to it all because
Oh, yeah.
my parents were totally on board with that kinda apprehension, like, if our grades were down or if we did something, wrong that we weren't supposed to be doing, that was like a tool of
Oh, sure.
they used it as a reward tool,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
then eventually it just turned into my mom gamed on it too, so we just left it out, it didn't
Oh,
matter,
wow, that's
but
cool, okay. I can't
Oh,
I can't relate to that, neither of my dad would sometimes sit down and play if we had a game that he was really into sports, so we had a hockey game. It was NHLPA '93, great hockey game, and he bought that game and brought it home, and we would sit down and play that together. He would play RBI baseball with me. Basically anything sports he would play with me. Other than that, they had no interest in it. Um, I gave them a lot of reasons to regret getting me into video games because again, it was Genesis wasn't even like kind of my golden age of gaming or where I really got obsessed with it. That would come a little bit later. But again, once I did, I'm like you. They used it as like a, well, if your grades are good and you're doing at least one activity, you can have this. Of course, I lost it all the time. It was just a distract. It really was. I mean, I loved it. But looking back in hindsight, especially now that I have kids of my own, I can see like, yeah, like it's such an incredible, amazing thing. And when you're that young, when you're a kid, you don't know how to. There's no concept of control. You're just like, I like doing this thing. I want to do it all the time. And
right.
I don't regret it. I don't regret the time I spent with it because I mean, look, it's something I'm still doing, and I'm in my 40s now, and I've even managed to take it and turn it into something I can, in a way, make some money off of. I mean, it's not playing games that's um, doing it, but I've been able to turn it into this cool little side thing.
And here's what I think on that too is like it's a positive thing when you think about it nowadays, and, like, the fact that we grew up in a different generational time of, reward, things weren't just automatic, unlike
Sure,
today, a lot of things are pretty automatic, all you need to do is, have a tool or a computer and gaming is right there in front of you, in which that's kind of a good thing too, but it also doesn't instill that, some of these things were meant to be for just leisure, not entire lifestyles at
sure.
young ages,
Oh, sure. Yeah. I
and,
mean, I don't know about, your situation, but for me personally too, it's like when you're a kid, especially when your parents aren't particularly fond of them, your opportunities to get new games is very rare. I mean, I would get maybe 2 new games a year, like, that I would actually own, and it would be like a Christmas gift, or if I got some cash for my birthday, I would save it and be able to get a new game. Other than that, it's like, if I was doing alright in other things and my parents would bring me to, whatever the local movie store was, or I think our grocery store even had a movie rental and game rental section, and I could rent games there, and that would be most of my stuff experience was actually renting. But still, it was hard to come by. So like you played the same games a lot. You didn't bounce around like I do now. I can't. I have a hard time playing a game for more than a few hours. Back then, I that Sonic, I that's all I played for like 6 months because I didn't have another game until the following summer.
Right, right. Yep, yep, and that's how it was in our house too. Gifting was usually how we got most of the games. Mom would sometimes go out and pick something up that, she decided to just buy something on a whim, and,
Yep.
we'd go to Shopko. I remember Shopko's, gaming section a lot, and it was a dark corner with a little bit
Hmm.
of lighting, so, like, it made it seem more intense, and
Sure.
almost like a Spencer Gifts or something like that,
Oh, okay.
So it was a good time, man, and,
Yeah.
uh, you know, kinda going into, what the next question will be is, like, what are you playing now, and what is your favorite game genre?
Oh, well, I'll admit I definitely don't get as much time for playing games these days, as I would like. I try to split my time pretty evenly between retro and new stuff. I definitely lean retro, just naturally I'm getting exposed to all these consoles coming in. So currently I've got my Dreamcast hooked up. That's what I've been kind of pretty obsessed with for the last few months, just playing quick sessions of Crazy Taxi, Power Stone, stuff like that. Things you can fire up, get in, play 20, 30 minutes of and get out. So not really a lot of long form games. Like RPGs aren't really conducive to my lifestyle right now. On that note, though, I do have a PS5, a base model PS5, and I've been kind of into Forza Horizon 5 and Cyberpunk on there. Those are the two like newish games. I know they're not both brand new, but for me, they're new that I've been playing a lot lately. As far as favorite genre overall, I'd probably have to be first person shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I don't feel like I don't know, people get on this hype train of thinking it has to be the newest game that they're playing all the time or something like that. You see a lot of that, and,
Sure.
I'm still playing games from, the beginning of the PS4's or PS5's life cycle, and, like, I even have some PS4 games I'll go back and visit every now and then, and I kinda make the mistake of buying games thinking I will play
Mhm.
them, and I have a huge backlog,
Sure.
but, I also know at that point, though, that I do have the physical copy, and, even if these stores ever went down, someone will provide the bypass, in the future to be able to still play your disc game. Someone will have that
Yeah, I
figured
mean, I
out.
for sure. I try to have hope that that'll always be the case. I do tend to avoid I'm not really an online person. I've never been a huge online gamer. I don't like to have to do like teamwork, voice chat. I don't like to have to be available at certain times. So I've always been more of a single player guy just because I can play at my leisure when I feel like it. I do have some friends that play on Steam that I'll hop on and we'll play some Battlefield 6 with or something. But yeah, I don't know. I also tend to avoid them for the reason you're saying is you look a lot of those online only or internet connection required. I just still have a hard time investing in something that like is this going to work in 15 years? Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and
like
people will say, well, why do you care? Are you really going to play this game in 15 years? It's like I play games that are 40 years old all the time. So yeah, hopefully, in theory,
yeah, I mean, we're in our 40s, man. I mean, we're looking at
sure.
retirement in
I hope so.
2025, and, like, I look at that like, "Man, I'm gonna have this huge library of awesome games to sit and play when I'm older and, won't be as mobile and things," and I think about that a little bit in the future, and,
Sure.
gaming will be vastly different by then if it's even still really a thing. As far as we know, gaming could evolve into some kind of social media platform, and that would be it.
Right.
Um, kinda like what in which I've never even dabbled with it, but like the meta and all that stuff, getting into that VR stuff and,
Oh, okay.
um
I thought maybe you were thinking more like a Roblox kinda thing where it's like one environment and you just have all these games that people are making inside of it, for example.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, very much could be that, and you could think of that concept as, Little Big Planet did that,
Sure.
what was the other one? In Dreams for
Oh, yeah.
your PlayStation, people are making games in that, and,
Yep.
yeah, I could very well see that being the future as well.
I hope not, but if it is, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, I see that you're into restoring and modding consoles. What brought you into that scene of gaming?
Um, I think it really came out of a place of needing to for myself. I don't It's been a while. I'm struggling to remember, like, maybe what the first time I did, like, a console repair was. It was definitely something that didn't require soldering. It was probably, like, a drive belt replacement on a Xbox or, some other console, like, maybe a Sega CD, and getting just comfortable opening these things up. I used to clean them even before I knew how to do any mods or real repair work. I would always take care of my stuff, stored it well, kept it out of direct sunlight, made sure it was just well cared for. And then eventually I get to the point of where some of these things that need to be done require a little bit more than that. And I think the first one I can kind of remember is my Dreamcast, which I guess I know I brought that up earlier, was asking for the day and time. Every time I turn that thing on, it's like, hey, what's the time? And I'm like, why is it doing this? This is so annoying. And, back then, I don't think there was definitely wasn't Twitter or social media. There was just forums, and I was scrolling through some forum, and I found someone that was like, "Oh, yeah, if you go in there, you can desolder and remove the original battery that's attached to the board, and you can install a new one." And
Mhm.
I this was a quite a long time ago. I recall having an issue. I attempted to do it. I got in there. I went to Radio Shack. I got a soldering iron. It was a garbage one. It was really cheap. I got the correct battery with the tabs on it, and it didn't let's just say it didn't go well. I don't remember what happened. I do recall not having that Dreamcast after that, so I don't think it went well, which is kinda crazy because now, I mean, I work on a ton of Dreamcast. That battery mod takes me, like, 2 seconds. It's there's no risk of anything happening, so how I might have messed that up, I don't remember, but just that act of doing it then was like, "Okay, I'm gonna need to learn to do this stuff if I wanna have this huge fleet of consoles." So then I started going on social media, watching YouTube videos, finding people that were doing this, watching their videos, hopefully finding people that would talk about their technique or recommend equipment. And that's kind of what really set me down this rabbit hole of learning this stuff, getting the correct equipment to do it, investing the time, and get me to where I am now.
Yeah, that's really awesome, dude. I mean, I like the aspect you brought up, the first, try and the failure, and, like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
very much an awesome aspect to it because, I've tried to do some soldering myself, and I've actually had to send stuff off to someone to
Mhm.
fix my mistake, and
Sure.
I cooked a via out of, and messed up a trace while doing it, but I cooked a via out and a trace on, FM Towns Marty, so I had to send that
Ooh.
over to George Portugal, does a lot of work for me.
Oh, at One Up
Uh,
Restorations? Yeah, sure.
yep, yep,
Yep.
and, he's super busy, and I have a ton of work that I would like to get done,
Deservedly
and I
so. He does great work. I follow him on Blue Sky and see a lot of his jobs. He does some incredible stuff.
yeah, yeah, and, I just I would love to do my own stuff, but I'm just
Sure.
too worried, and I've even bought upgraded equipment, and now that I don't feel like I fear a recap. I've recapped a PC Engine Duo, but I had to send that off to George too because I did not know how to diagnose a bad trace that was hidden under,
Hmm.
it was under some chip,
Okay.
and he found it because the PC
Probably
Engine
in the
Duo.
audio area. Were you not getting sound or messed
Yep,
up?
yep,
Yeah.
one of the
Okay.
PCM channels was out, so
Mhm.
if you played, like, yeah, Gate of Thunder, you would hear the music, but you wouldn't hear, like, the audio,
Sure.
or,
Yeah, that's a common issue. Those things, every single one of those things needs to be recapped if it hasn't yet, for
mhm.
sure. I will say it's a bold choice, like, first attempt on an FM Towns Marty. That's, like, just because there's a lot of caps on that thing, unfortunately, those ones have issues as well. There's one particular capacitor that's known to leak, the power supply caps all leak, but that's one of those consoles that's, like, super rare, very expensive, like, there's some that I would say if someone came to me and was like, "Hey, I'm just starting out. I don't wanna play on, like, a breadboard or some junk piece of equipment. I wanna actually practice on a console." There's a lot that I would probably throw out there as, "Yeah, you can get these for 20, $30. They're very common," but a Marty, it's a pretty rare one for sure, but hey, it sounds like you got it squared away in the end, so.
Well, yeah, and that wasn't my first attempt. That was,
Ah, gotcha.
after the PC Engine Duo.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
that was the one I tried after the PC Engine Duo, and, like, it was that board, it was different anyways. It was definitely more rugged, and I was
Sure.
having trouble getting some of the vias totally cleaned out, and, like, I think a few of them, I got to the point I just trimmed the posts off because I was like, I can't get it out, And and after burning up that via, I didn't wanna burn up more of it because I was like, "Well, maybe I'll just see if I can get it decapped because I had the map laid out and all the caps off of console 5, so I already had the blueprint, so I was like, "I'll just get all the caps out and
Yeah,
then
sure.
see if I can fix it with something after that," but anyways, yeah, so, yeah, I wouldn't attempt FM Towns as your first just because that board is heavier and that solder it's different.
Definitely needs a reflow. You gotta have a good, like, I couldn't do what I do without some of the tools I have. I mean, I'm not an advocate for, like, you gotta go out and buy. I've always been an advocate that you can get in and start doing really good work with some pretty cheap tools. I wouldn't go bottom of the line, but you don't have to spend a ton of money, but something that I don't think I would sacrifice on is desoldering. Like, I have a desoldering gun. It's a pretty good, model. It's got some good power to it. You can get in there and really clean the holes out, especially on boards that are stubborn, like the original Xbox can be quite stubborn, as well.
Yeah, and actually, I got an original Xbox that I I'm gonna do a Nocta upgrade and clean
Oh, the fan, okay.
the you gotta take that heat sink off, and
Yep,
I've been nervous about it, and I've been watching people's tricks, like plug it in, let it warm up, then you should be able to wiggle that heat sink off, and I keep thinking in my mind, I better just really think about this before I
mm,
do it because I will end up breaking something, I'm sure, if I'm not really slow and careful, and
sure. Yeah, I've heard about the let it run, which same concept, but do you have a hot air station or a heat gun?
yeah,
Yeah,
I have
that's what I do.
upgraded. Yeah,
Okay,
I've upgraded some tools since I started to where I feel like if I ever muster up enough confidence to do something serious like some of these ribbon modding in which, I'd like to give it a try, and I even bought a microscope for it, but
okay,
I don't know. I basically what I think I wanna try to do on that aspect is like, all right, I'd like to send a PS1 off to you sometime and get a Retro Gem shiny upgrade kit and recap,
sure.
and then I have a second PS1 and maybe just or find another one at a garage sale or something and use that as a test console,
That's the
you
perfect way
know,
to go. Yeah,
and
especially
just
a PS1. They're very common. I mean, obviously, none of us like to see consoles, um, potentially, damaged, but stuff happens, and ultimately, something like a PS1, it's a lot easier to let go. Doesn't even have to go in the trash heap. You could even if you damage it, there
parts.
could be useful parts on there. You could find someone looking for a chip that they need that they could salvage off it. So it doesn't have to go to waste, but something like that's a pretty good, not the easiest console to, again, attempt a mod like that on. If you wanted to get into flex soldering or
Yeah.
ribbon wire work, I'd say like an N64 is a pretty good first choice. The Pixel effects kits that's the easiest Pixel effects kit to install in my opinion. Um, the boards are, for the most part, pretty resilient to heat. They're usually pretty clean. I don't know, that's a good one, but that's a good idea what you're talking about. Like, don't especially if that PS1 is maybe yours from when you were if you got that as a kid. Like, if it's got sentimental value, you don't typically wanna swing for the fence on something like that.
Yeah, the original PS1 I had, that
Okay.
thing eventually something went wrong with it. It was one of the ones you'd have to flip over eventually to be able to
Oh,
even
run it
play.
upside down? Yeah.
Yeah, and it lost the audio channels somehow out of the it wasn't
Oh.
a
Hmm.
very first one that had the left right jacks, it just had the out of the, RF plug on it. It
Sure.
had the IO, whatever you call that, where the audio and video came out on that same plug. Anyways,
Yeah.
one day I was running it and I smelt this burning and I was like, "What the hell
Ooh.
is that?" And then there was no audio out of the PS1 anymore,
Oh,
so
no. Okay. Okay, that's
so,
not
I
good.
mean, yeah, it wasn't the original one that I bought, and I actually bought that original one that I had when I started doing PlayStation, uh, from a guy I knew who had a ton of awesome games with it already. It was like a year or 2 after PS1 had already been out. We can move this along a little bit here. Um, how did it take what did it take for you to build your soldering workbench station, and what is your favorite system to service and why?
Mm. Um, I mean, I just started out real humble. I had gotten a small, I think it's 2 foot by 5 foot, like, husky workbench. It's got an adjustable height, like a nice butcher block top with a few shelves, and I just accumulated stuff over time. I would say the total time from when I bought my very first piece of equipment to where I would say I was complete, like, I had and even then, I still have tools that I still don't have that someday I'd like, but I also don't have a lot of room left anymore. Probably, like, a couple years, like, 2 years because you know, originally, I had this Weller when I first started doing this work on the regular, not for other people, like, I wasn't taking commissions or work from customers. I had just bought this Weller iron from Home Depot. It had an adjustable temperature, but it was very low wattage. It was difficult to use for anything besides, like, soldering new batteries in a GameCube or something. And then I upgraded to, like, a Yiwa, I hope that's how you pronounce it, um, combo station with, like, hot air and a soldering iron, and then I started doing a bunch of recaps, and I'm like, "This is torture trying to remove these capacitors with desoldering braid or a mechanical pump." So, I invested in a Hakko desoldering gun, and so I added that to my bench, and then I eventually got a pair of tweezers because I do a lot of SMD work, surface mount, component replacement,
Mhm.
capacitors in particular. So I was like, there's gotta be something out there that's easier than using the hot air gun, which is always a little nerve-wracking just because there can be components nearby that you don't want to expose to a lot of heat. So that's when I discovered there was something called tweezers where it's essentially like soldering iron chopsticks, and you can hold it with one hand and grab both sides at the same time. I mean, I can recap a console with 2 dozen or more surface mount caps in a couple minutes now with that thing.
Wow.
And it was just accumulating stuff like that, and then "Oh, I should really get a fume extractor because I'm doing all this soldering, and then most of my soldering is leaded, which I shouldn't be breathing in." So I went and invested in a fume extractor and just started adding it. I go on Amazon and look at reviews. So, yeah, I'd say probably 2 years total to go from, like, that very first setup to kinda where I've been running now for, like, the last 2 or 3 years.
That's
Uh,
pretty cool, man. That's good stuff. So, I mean, what did that at that point, were you starting to take on any little jobs, like, systems or
yeah, I first started because there's a local game store that I would go to, and I just would spend way too much time there. I'd buy games all the time, and I just after going there long enough, I get to talk to the owner. I became a regular, and I mentioned that I was getting into doing this kind of stuff, and he's like, "Well, hey, I'm swamped. I don't have time to do this anymore, but I've got simple repairs that if someone could just take care of it for me." So I kind of started working with him, and I'd go buy some games. He'd send me home with an original Xbox that needed a recap or a Sega Saturn that wasn't showing any video or outputting any audio. And I would take 1 or 2 of these home, work on them, bring them back, and just getting that exposure, getting that comfort level that I can do this for other people. Like, it's very different when you own the equipment yourself. Like, if I were to work on a console and damage it or I did something, oh well, I'm out the money, whatever. I'll go buy another one. It sucks, but I'll live. When it's somebody else's, especially you don't know this person's situation, what their money situation is, how valuable that could be. Maybe it's very sentimental. There's a real big hurdle you got to get over at some point. And doing that for a guy that I knew and I trusted, and he kind of knew my situation. I was starting out doing this for other people. Nothing ever ended up happening, but if it had, I wasn't worried that like he was gonna freak out about it. That kind of helped me get over that hurdle. And then it just naturally, I'm like, well, there's only so many people around me that I can do this for. I really gotta start taking in orders from elsewhere. And that's kind of what led me to having a whole website and doing that.
That's pretty cool, man. I really like to hear the stories on this stuff. So, I guess, does performing these repairs or mods bring back any feelings of nostalgia or ideas of fun playing in your mind as you perform these?
Um, not not really doing the work itself because it's not like I was doing the work back then, that kind of repair work either, so it doesn't bring back memories. I mean, I do occasionally I'll see certain consoles that just I'm always gonna like the Genesis, even though it's not really a console I particularly enjoy working on for any reason or the other. When I see one come in, especially if it's a Model 1 with the maroon ring with high definition graphics on the top, that's the one I had. Anytime I see one of those, I kinda am filled with that nostalgia. Maybe PlayStation 1 a little bit. That's my favorite console of all time personally. Um, and I love got a lot of memories of playing on that. So I'll have those kinds of small bits of nostalgia just from seeing them, but, other than that, just, like, the act of working on it doesn't it's usually when I'm testing. So, like, if any console that comes into my shop gets some bench testing, the duration depends on what console, what kinda work I've been doing, but then when I'm getting to sit down and play on it for this burn-in testing, or perhaps I've done a mod anytime I do a video mod, whether it's HDMI or RGB where I'm altering or improving the video output, I part of my postings include captures that I've taken of the games. Just I like to show people like, hey, if you do this mod, whether it's yourself or you send it to me to do it, this is what you can expect. Like this is how good it can look. I think it's kind of like a selling point. In order to get those captures, I got to sit down and play the game. So I'll sit in my shop and I'll start recording, and I'll sit down and play those games for sometimes hours, depending on how much testing I feel comfortable I need to do before I know that my work is good. And that's when I really kinda get that nostalgia because now I'm actually sitting down and playing the games, and I naturally gravitate to the games that I remember growing up with, like, "Oh, I used to play Sonic all the time. Let's see how nice Sonic looks now that this Genesis has been triple bypassed and I'm displaying it on my 4K monitor," you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and I seen one of your posts, and that's how I asked about how you got that quality and end up ordering that cable, and,
Oh,
um,
sure, from
I
Ed, yep.
yeah, and I got that cable, and I tried it out the other day, on my master system, and man, it really looks good. I played through, Rampage. I did a playthrough of Rampage,
Oh, cool, yeah.
and,
What are you
it's
going through? Are you going into a RetroTink 4K? Or
that one I just played on the RetroTink 5X.
oh, 5X, yeah,
I
same,
got
gotcha.
a 4K as well, but I
Okay,
got my 4K hooked up to my computer station, and then my 5X is at my entertainment center.
gotcha. Okay, still,
So
even a I had a 5X, before I upgraded to the 4K, and it's still I mean, it's amazing. Like, games on that thing with, some of the profiles they've got at 1080 still look incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the 4K. I've thought about buying another, it's just a pricey purchase, and, like,
Yeah, there's
I
other
just
good options out there too. I don't know. I mean, I'm a RetroTink guy. I've got a 4K as that's my shop scaler. Um, I didn't wanna go drop another $800 for one for my actual I don't have a game room, but it's where I play games. So I invested in a Morph 4K, which is another 4K scaler, a lot cheaper. I think those are 300 something. Um,
Mhm.
that's also a great scaler, but you can get the RetroTink 4K, I think it's called the CE, which has some features missing, but is a lot more economical. I think that's in the 400 range. But either way, all these, I'm saying it like 300's nothing, but that's still a lot of money for a
Yeah,
piece
it
of
is,
equipment for
really.
upscaling. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's an expensive hobby, it truly is. I mean, especially when you get into, modding in which I remember when the modding scene was starting to be mentioned, like, "Oh, you can mod your NES with this and mod your Genesis with this," and, it was like S-Video to start, S-Video
sure.
mods and stuff, and I've seen how it's, evolved into these full HDMI connections, and,
Oh yeah,
it's just it's pricey to have it done, but, I mean, what you have in the after the service is completed, it's really amazing, and with these scalers, with the options to put in, calculated scan lines and softer imagery or sharper imagery, and then expanding to scale a large TV without causing it to look distorted,
sure.
it's a fun hobby at the same time messing around with that stuff.
I think so. You gotta have an aptitude for wanting to poke and prod around and tweak and do all that stuff. I love doing that stuff. It reminds me of like the early days of emulation on the PC where like it wasn't quite as simple as just file open this ROM. You had to change things or certain games wouldn't work. This is kind of a natural I mean it's way better, but it's kind of a natural escalation of that where it's the same concept, you know. The RetroTink is plug and play. If you just care about, I just want this to look way better than it's going to any other way. But if you want it to look its absolute best, you've got to figure out what profile should I use, and it all relies on all these people in the community coming together. Like the RetroTink looks amazing as is out of the box, but if you want that NES to look its absolute best, well, Firebrand has made a profile that's correct integer scaling, like sharp like someone that knows way more about this stuff than I do, figured out how to get the best possible correct image, and they've shared all those profiles, so it all comes together to make it as good as you want it to look or depending on how much time you're willing to put in.
You wanna know the one that I wish they could really make one that would make it look way better even after putting the mod in?
I'm gonna guess you're gonna say N64?
Nope,
Oh, okay. Alright, that's usually what I hear. Well, what would it be then?
3DO.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure, sure. Do you have a modded 3DO?
Yeah, yeah, George put in a Pixel FX in my 3DO,
Yeah,
and, I mean, it definitely looks better than the original, but then you almost gotta wonder, like, maybe this was supposed to stay in composite, you know? I mean, some of that stuff you can really see the production into 'em, when it's sharper, you know?
for sure. Some systems just naturally lend themselves to, upscaling well, like the Sega Saturn looks great. No modification needed, just an RGB cable into something like the RetroTink, and it looks amazing. Like I mentioned it, the N64, it's like putting makeup on a pig. And let me clarify, I love the N64. It's probably my third favorite console of all time, but its video output leaves a lot to be desired. Same like you're saying. I've done RGB mods on the 3DO, and even with a RetroTink 4K, one of Ed's premium shielded cables, it still just doesn't quite pop the way you're thinking that hundreds of dollars of mod kits and investment is going to. It's just a reality.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love the fact that, with the I put an ODE in it just because I'm
Sure.
not gonna go down that 3DO rabbit hole. I was starting to
That's
do it at
good.
the beginning, and I just decided I'm not doing this, you know? I mean, I'm already in enough rabbit holes with Sega stuff that,
Sure.
uh
S
and PlayStation stuff, I'm just like, "Man, I don't need that," and
Yeah, it's not Neo Geo levels of ridiculous prices, but it's not far off. I mean, it's all those weird systems, those like the jack like systems that you would think like, why nobody most people don't even like this system. Why are these games so much? Well, that's why. It didn't sell well. There's not a lot of copies out there. The few people that do, the community is really hardcore. So yeah, like 3DO, especially if you're like me, I've got a handful. I do collect for it. I'm a complete in box or bust. If it's a optical based, like a CD or DVD based system, I need to have the case, the manual, and trying to get those tall boys or the long boxes for the 3DO intact. That's not like where the cardboard's not shredding on the corners. That's you're getting into big bucks.
yeah, yeah, the one that I would like to get is, I was into the FMV stuff,
Sure.
and, that is kinda why I wanted to get into the 3DO was, like, to get into the 3DO games, the what was that one? The Daedalus Encounter, I
Yep.
think.
Sure.
Yeah,
And you get that one. I mean, plumbers wear tie. I mean, if you are into FMV, it's got the best version of Night Trap. There's,
oh, that's the best version, huh?
I think so for sure. And actually,
Huh.
Because I've captured footage of the 32X version, the Sega CD version, and the 3DO for various jobs I've done, and not including the I know that I think someone re-released it, like, limited run, or somebody put out a modern,
Yeah, yep.
not maybe remaster, not a remake, but in terms of the FMV video quality, like, even the 32X CD version, which I own, which because the 32X can do a lot more colors, it's a huge step up from the base Sega CD, but it still pales in comparison to the 3DO. It looks amazing on there, I think.
I'm gonna have to try that out now.
Great.
I really I like Night Trap, and,
Yeah, it's a cool game.
I really played through that, limited run game. In the limited run basically has all the different, visual filters of all the systems. I don't think it had the 3DO version, though. There was one version that was missing from it, I thought, but
Interesting. I don't know what other versions there are. Again, I know Sega CD, CD32X, and 3DO. It's gotta probably be on other stuff, but, I mean, the 3DO was an FMV beast. That was kind of its thing. I mean, obviously, it could do 3D graphics. It was powerful in other areas, but it had a great FMV quality, video output quality, and it was full screen, which was kind of the new thing I remember. If you ever go back and play a lot of Sega CD games, even the ones that look okay, it'll be kind of the
it's a
smaller
box.
window. So
Yeah.
it's which is fine, except I'm usually playing something like a Sega CD. I'm playing it on a CRT, and I don't. I've got some larger CRTs, but I have a little setup, a cozy setup that's got like a 13-inch CRT, which is like the perfect for like I'm sitting down pretty close. But even then, you're looking at this 13-inch screen, and inside of that, it's only using half of it. So you're looking at almost like a postage stamp window of this video output. It's just a little, I don't know, it's a little rough, which is why I like the 3DO. If you go play like there's also a port of I think it's Corpse Killer on the 3DO, which is a was a common Sega CD FMV game. Again, full screen, the way more colors, more fluid, full screen. It's 3DO was really good at that.
Yeah, I picked up, what was the ones that I wanted on the 3DO? Thayer's Quest or no, Kingdom of Far Reaches, and then, um,
Huh.
the other one, I can't remember the name of it, man, but it's really cool because it's all animated, FMV action.
Okay.
And, it's slow, you go from one point to the next, but the animation in it is great, and, look up Kingdoms of Far Reaches, and then there's I can't remember what the other one was called,
I've never heard of that first
I
one,
I
honestly.
don't I don't know if it was Thayer's Quest or, uh anyways, you'll have to look those
Okay.
up because they're really nice animated, FMV, which it reminds me very much of, like, Dungeons& and Dragons on, the cartoon in the mornings,
Oh, sure. Yep.
a and I don't know if that was Don Bluth or not. No, it was Interplay. I believe it was Interplay, but
Because yeah, Don Bluth was, like, the space ace in, like, Dragon Slayer, right?
yep, yep,
Okay.
yep, yeah. But yeah, give those a look, man, if you haven't
Okay.
seen those for and they are on 3DO and,
Definitely have not heard of Kingdoms of Far Reaches, so I'll look that up for sure.
yep, and I might be wrong about that, but if you look it up, it should pop up. I think it's Thayer's Quest, but
Okay.
definitely check those out.
Sure.
I love the animation on that. It reminds me very much of just that early or, 80s cartoon
Yep.
fantasy. So,
Cool.
um, hey, that was some good, gaming discussion there with you, man. I like that. So, I guess moving forward, on what you, perform for your work, how many jobs are you receiving regularly versus when you started?
Um, I remember when I first because I had the website for a little while, and I actually wasn't even made it wasn't even designed around, you know, modding or send-in services. I knew I wanted to do something related to retro gaming, and it pivoted to that, so I kinda redesigned it. I started with, like, 6 or 7 services, like the common stuff like Genesis, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, but when I started, I actually didn't get an order for probably, like, a couple months, like, which sounds crazy. Like, it's kind of a miracle that I'm still even here doing this because a lot of people would have been like, "I haven't even gotten a single order in the first 2 months, like, what am I doing here? This is a waste of time." Um, but I was like, "Well, I'm not doing a good job of sharing, my work. The website just looks kinda like there's not a whole lot going on, so people are probably like, 'Who is this guy? Like, why am I gonna trust to send him something?'" Really what it was is I feel like I kinda got lucky, like, it was quiet, and then all of a sudden I had, like, my first email came through that wasn't, like, spam or chunk because I would always get tons of spam because I had a contact form on the site, so, like, bots would send me all this junk stuff, and I think it was a customer looking for, like, a 32X to be recapped and have um, a region-free mod installed in it, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, of course I'll take that on," and I got it in, did the work, everything went well, sent it back, shared the job on Twitter, and got lucky, and a few people that were following me at the time reposted it, and people saw it, and I noticed a few people bookmarked it, and then within a couple days of that, I had someone say, "Oh, hey, I see that you offer, services for the Genesis, but I don't see anything about adding a region mod. Do you do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that, no problem." And it kinda just picked up from there. So I went from, if I had to guess, like the first 6 months, I was probably averaging a handful of jobs a month. Maybe not even maybe it picked up a little quicker than that, but still not a lot. Nowadays, I'm at the point where if I didn't have the limit system in place, like this queue system I have going on, I don't even want to imagine how many orders I would be behind because the whole reason this queue system I have in place happened is because, last year, I took a vacation for the first time in, like, 7 years. I never take vacations. I left the queue open thinking like, "Ah, it'll be my usual. I'll get a couple orders here, a couple orders there." I left on a Monday, came back on the following Monday, and I knew this was happening while we were gone because I get emails. I have to change the status to processing so it sends the customer an email with shipping instructions. So I'm aware of this is going on. And for some reason, they just blew up and I was getting 6 or 7 orders a day, which for me was a lot. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I got back and I had 30, I think it was like 37 orders active. And keep in mind, back then I didn't have a limit on how many systems could be in a single order. I do now. I limit it to 2 systems per order. I had one of the orders had like 6 consoles on it, so the average probably had 2 or 3. So 37 active orders, the average number 3 per. I mean, I was looking at 80 plus consoles, and
Wow.
I kinda had this freak out moment where I'm like, "There is no way I'm going to be able to get all of this work done in any reasonable timeline." So I immediately shut down ordering. I started emailing everybody saying, "Hey, send the order in. I just got swamped. I'll work on this as fast as I can. And I spent like the next 2 months digging myself out from that kind of hole. And then that's when I implemented this system because I had people pinging me saying, "Hey, your website's not working. I can't place an order." So when I came back online, I had this system in place that I've since had for a couple of years now, and it works great for me. I'm not gonna pretend it works great for everybody. I know a lot of people are frustrated by it, and I am trying to continually evolve, and hopefully I'll find something that's a little bit smoother for everybody, but it's the way it's gotta work for me really. But even then, with this queue limit, um, I limit it to, 10 orders at a time, 2 consoles each. That's still 20 systems, which might not sound like a lot, but trust me, when I go down to that shop and I look on my shelf of all the orders organized, and I'm like, "I got 20 consoles I gotta work on," and this is just a side thing. This is just nights and weekends. It's a lot. So it's constant. Like, I'll close an order, and I would say on average, an order is placed that then closes that spot up usually within 5 to 10 minutes, if I had to guess. And I don't understand quite how, because 'cause I'm like, well, they're not, like, hanging out, but I think some people, a lot of my most of my customers are return customers, have kinda figured out my routine. I'm a very much a creature of habit, so I make my job postings at the same time every day. It's every other day, so I think people realize, like, "Oh, if there's gonna be an opening, it's gonna be at 9 AM on, on this Wednesday or the next, Friday and or the day after that, and so I think the people that have been doing work with me long enough kinda know when these spots open up, and they're able to kinda that's the only rational explanation for how they could go so quick, I
Y
guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's amazing though. I mean, that is just the sheer volume thinking of that, like, in a day, like, just thinking, "Man, I got, like, maybe 5 or 6 more consoles that I wanna get serviced, and then I will have had everything done, minus a couple that I wanna just try to maybe recap myself." But it's just
Sure.
amazing that, you know, that it's just such a popular service, and I've worked with George, and I've worked, at One Up Restorations, and I've worked with, Zaxor on my laser active stuff, and
Oh, sure,
he's
yeah.
he's
That's the
he
go-to guy for that.
he did my master system, and,
Mhm.
um, you know, and I've also used Computer Booter. Computer Booter did a couple stuff for
I've
me.
heard of that guy. Does he do, like, Xbox mostly? Or am I
Yeah,
think
he's into, like, doing PlayStation and PS3 reballs and things like
Yeah,
that,
okay.
and,
That's where I've heard then yep, okay.
like, he gets into, like, the newer stuff, and he'll do some of the retro stuff, but, he's another guy I've tried out, and, I've never had a bad experience with anybody I've ever done
Well, that's
for any
good.
kind of service, and, it's just awesome that you guys are out there doing this stuff, and it's amazing, just amazing to me how popular it really is, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems endless.
Yeah, I've thought about that. I was like, "Well, alright, maybe it's just, there's only so many of these things out there. How many people have these things that also have the money to pay someone else to fix it? I'm gonna run out of doing this," but I said that 3 years ago, and, I mean, to answer the question that kinda started it all, I'd say on average, if I had to guess, I'm probably servicing about like, last year I did, 297 consoles in 2025. I'm for sure outpacing that this year. So if I figure out the average is 2 consoles in order, that's I'm horrible at math. It's like 150 orders a year. I suck at math. I don't know what that is divided by 12. But, it's busy. It's as soon as I open up a spot, it's really dependent on me, I guess. If I Some of the jobs I get are real quick. I can get them in. I'm really efficient at knowing, okay, I'm gonna wash all the plastic parts and shell so it can dry overnight, and then I know it'll go in the retrobrite box in the morning, and then while it's retrobriting after work, I can do the recap. Like some of these, I can get multiple systems in and have them back out within 2 or 3 days. Like in terms of I've got it back from the post office. It's gonna leave my shop in 3 days. Really what was important to me, kind of the principal that I like to operate on besides doing quality work, making sure everything is clean, nothing leaves my shop with flux all over the board, or residue or dirt. I want all my wires to be run very nice and tight, even if you're not gonna see it, I don't care. Um, the other thing was just turnaround time, because honestly, that's the biggest piece of feedback I've been given when I ask someone that's a first-time customer. I'll just be like, "Hey, how'd you hear about me?" Or, "What made you choose to send me your stuff?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I used to send it to this guy, but he's had it for a year and a half, or he's had it for 11 months, and I'm still waiting." And I'm thinking to myself, "That's crazy." Like, again, everybody's got their own situation, but I couldn't I wouldn't be able to sleep well at night if I had customer stuff sitting down there that long. So for me, my mantra was always like quality work, but also people have spent their good money because they pay me up front, right? They go to the website, they place the order, money is exchanged hands. I now have their money. It's not okay for me to make them wait and drag it out for months and months. I just don't think that's a really great. Now, again, there's certain people operate differently depending on what kind of work they're doing. But for me, that was the key tenet was, let's get these in, do good work, but also get them out in a timely manner so they can enjoy the systems that they've sent me to work on.
Right, right, expedience. Yeah, and
Kinda, yeah.
I've seen some of your quality that you show in the aftermath of it, and, it looks really good. It
I
looks
appreciate
really
that.
good, and I like the labeling system you put on that. I mean, it just gives it that bit of class that it was,
Oh, like the
serviced
work
by
finish
some.
thing? Sure.
Yeah, yeah, it shows that it was serviced by somebody who knew what they were doing, and
Yeah.
it looks really good,
I
and,
appreciate that. The
I
label thing was kind of a I was a little hesitant to do it only well, it came about because I was sent something by a customer. They're like, "Oh, this really needs a recap. It's not working." I popped it open immediately. I'm like, "This has totally been recapped before. Those are not factory capacitors. I know someone's been in here." So, I don't remember what the issue I figured out what the issue was, and I said, "Listen, I'm not gonna replace these capacitors. Here's the fix. It's actually a really quick fix, so how about I'll refund you, like, 3/4 of what you paid me." And we worked it out, but it left me thinking, like, how many people are sending their systems to someone else to do work that maybe is unnecessary? And how are they supposed to know? Because if you don't know what you're looking at, you're not gonna have any idea. Um, which is why when I do my pictures, I don't show pictures of the new capacitors on the board because I could send a picture or share it of a board with all the caps in place. Most people aren't gonna know. Most people are not gonna look at that and say, "Oh, those aren't the factory capacitors." I show them with the capacitors removed and the board empty, so you can see, like, they clearly were removed from this board. Um, but that's kinda what started the sticker thing, and I just thought it was a good idea because if you go into a shop, someone can claim, "Oh, this has been fully serviced," but if you don't know what you're looking at, how do you know? Not saying that people couldn't go and just throw stickers in there. I just would hope people wouldn't go that far to try and deceive others, but it was a chance to be transparent. Maybe someone comes across a yard sale and picks it up, goes to open it up, and they can say, "Oh, this had a new belt put on. That's so it's probably running fine. Had its capacitors replaced, or in theory, they could go and if they wanted to see like was a good job done on this, they could look up my name based on the sticker, type in the job code. Like, if you know how to search on Twitter, you could go find that exact job when I posted it, assuming Twitter's still gonna be around in, 5 or 10 years. So it was really just born out of transparency, but there are some downsides. I do get systems in that other people have worked on. I don't typically like to take those kind of jobs in, but occasionally I will. And I'm always a little hesitant where if someone's gone in and done a ton of damage on the board, even if I'm gonna get it working, how do I put my name on this? I've fixed it, but if I write, "Oh, I did the triple bypass or this RGB mod," and there's all these damage traces that, yeah, I fixed and I bodged them and I covered them up with, UV resin mask and all that. Great, but it looks like crap. And so there's been a few situations where I talked to the customer. I'm like, "Listen, I got it working for you. We did the work. I'm just not willing to put my sticker on it because 10 years from now, no one's going to be able to look at that and know that that was not my handiwork that led to that point, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Um,
right. Going in and fixing other people's mistakes, yeah.
yeah, if I can clean it up real nice and it would be imperceivable, then I'll go ahead and do it, but in certain cases where it's been really I've seen some really bad stuff. We got it working, great, I did the job. I just don't want my name tied to this because it looks real bad, but outside of that, I think it's been a hit. I think people appreciate knowing that they can also probably sell it easier, like, if, maybe it's theirs now, but they might not want it in 5 years, they can sell it and advertise it as, "This has been professionally serviced, and here's proof. I have it open. Here's the sticker that was serviced. You can go look up the job when it was done if you want to."
Yeah, I feel that, like with my systems that I've had modded, I don't look at it like, "Oh, I'm gonna sell these down the road." I'm looking at it like long-term system preservation for,
Sure,
current technology that is probably gonna be around, and if we're gonna be making scalers that are transferring one signal to another in the future, it's probably gonna be an HDMI signal, you know, getting
sure.
figured out. Um, so I guess on that, um, do you have any desires to design your own modifications?
Honestly, no. I mean, there's so many smart people out there that know way more about this stuff than I do. Like, you brought up Zaxor earlier. I've done Out of every creator out there, people that make kits, I've probably installed more of his stuff than anyone else, and it's not even close, actually. Like, the number of triple bypass boards that he's designed, the Jaguar bypass has been pretty popular, his Master System bypass, all kinds of stuff, but people out there that just have a fundamental understanding of, circuitry and components and how this all works. Like, I don't have that understanding, and I'm actually okay with it because I think there's different kinds of modders. There are people out there that do have that deep understanding, and I think there are some ways that can make you a better modder probably, and they have that inherent interest in it. I really don't. I actually don't care too much about why it was designed this way or how it was designed. I just care, like, does it function? Does it do what the customer wants it to do? What can we add to it that will enable that? Or what kind of preventative maintenance can we do? I'm more of just kinda like, I just like to solder is kind of where my discipline comes from. So that's where I put all my energy in. And the truth is, like, there is stuff out there that I wish existed, but I would have no clue on how to even begin. So my only hope is that these really smart people that are out here doing all this are gonna design these mods and optical drive emulators and all these things that I would love to see exist, but I know that's a whole rabbit hole I can never afford to go down personally. I'm already so especially because 'cause I'm already so swamped in this work and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So unless that changes and maybe in a couple years it starts slowing down and maybe I have extra time, I could see maybe trying to pivot a little bit in that direction, but I just don't have that kind of background like electrical engineering where that kind of stuff really plays into it.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I mean, Zach's, with his work and, all that, and I've chatted with him a little bit, and, he definitely is an amazing guy, I mean, just to put this stuff together, put it out there, and he's doing it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Improvements, like the whole laser active I've had pretty much everything done to my laser active, I think, except the packs. I think I could afford to probably get, the FRAM upgrade
Oh,
and things
sure.
like that.
Like
I
the
I
pack
don't
attack, is that what it's called, I think?
I believe I did that, but I'm not 100% sure because, I mean, he was still evolving too, and,
Sure.
I I may send my packs back down to get him reserviced with him at one time to check if there's any upgrades or whatnot. I got some of those pack covers, he even does some of that 3D printing, so when you're
Oh,
storing
sure.
it, the electrical traces aren't
Exposed, just
exposed.
hanging out.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so, I mean, his love for the laser active is amazing,
Yeah,
and I appreciate that because the laser active, I mean, let's face it, before his mods, it was probably a nightmare for anybody, to wanna try to even get in there, clean it up, it was just
replace all the
junk.
I know they need their capacitors replaced and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they were just junk laying around, and he's, developed into something amazing with the, AC3 Dolby Digital compatibility with a, Dolby Digital processor. I recently just had that re-added to my system, because I only did the dual. It was an S-Video and, component out, or no,
Okay.
a component out. I didn't get the S-Video, and I wanted the S-Video additionally so you could capture certain games that would only show, basically, I was trying to get more of that natural color gamut with the S-Video, and if you
Okay.
use the component, it'll only show certain aspects.
Really?
Um,
Huh,
or yeah, you would actually have to use composite video to get the entire, uh,
interesting.
game layers of the game laser discs to
Oh,
show up.
interesting.
But your
Okay.
movie laser discs would be fine,
Huh.
so I s
I don't have a laser active, I've never actually even seen one in person. That's a whole I feel like that's a whole other ball game almost, like a whole specialty. That's kinda I mean, he works on all kinds of stuff, but I know that that's really seems to me like that's kinda his niche inside of the niche is, like, being, like, the laser active guy. Like, people wait I've talked to people that have reached out to me and been like, "Oh, will you work on this laser active?" I'm like, "Dude, no, I'm good." Um, I'm like, "Have you do you know there's this guy named Zaxor, he's on Twitter." He's like, "No, I already reached out. He's got like a 13-month wait list." I'm like, "Yeah, well, get in line because that's your best bet, dude. You don't wanna send it to me, I can assure you."
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I like people that, um he's also always super helpful. I mean, I ping him constantly. I'm probably super annoying, but, like, if I've got something I've never seen before with one of his kits, he'll always answer the question, or if it's even just general questions about systems that I know he works on, like the CDX, I've pinged him about stuff before. He's always been super helpful, but having those specialists, right? Like he could probably mod anything he wants to, but knowing that there's someone out there that has devoted more time to this one particular complex piece of equipment that a lot of other people won't touch, it's just like it's invaluable,
Yeah, and
really.
actually, that my very first system I had serviced was my CDX, and that
Okay.
was, I believe is it Mr. Fong with iFix Retro? I think
Ben.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
Ben, yeah,
Sure.
he did that, and,
Yep.
I've been trying to get him to see if he could service my, um, PC Engine Duo monitor. I've had a few people take a glance at it, and it's been recapped, but it's just kind of been a mystery why it's still having issues. Something needs replaced somewhere in there, and I think ultimately my crown jewel of modifications would be if somebody could resurrect that, I would love to see that just because I think that whole ecosystem of the PC Engine Duo with that monitor and, like, all the add-ons that they did for it,
Sure. Yeah, it's
I
crazy. There's so
I
much out there.
yeah, I feel like it's such an awesome system, and I would love to have that restored and
Yep.
plug it into I have 2 PC Engine Duos. I have one that I had, um George, he installed the S-Video mod for it, and then my
Okay.
base one I just had recapped by George.
Yep.
And, my base one, that one's boxed, everything in it, and my PC Engine Dual monitor's boxed and has pretty much everything in it. I would like to have that sit there on a shelf eventually, side by side, and know that that's a one component gaming option,
Oh, I
and
see what you mean. Like
you
a
wouldn't have.
yeah, like a full working unit that in isolation could be played entirely by itself. Like all the components are there. they're working, they've been serviced. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yep, yep. So, I feel like that, versus trying to buy one, and buying one is ridiculous, like, even buying that, I had to buy the box and inserts separately out of Japan, and I
Okay.
found that on, Buy of all places, so it ended up being a lot just for the box, and they showed the monitor next to it, so I got tricked in that sale. I thought I was buying a complete boxed one,
Oh,
and
you just
then
got
when
the box
I
only? Ugh.
with all the inserts, yeah, and I was like,
Uh,
"Oh, man," but, it was
yeah,
worth it though, because I already had a monitor,
okay,
and I knew at that point it didn't work, and,
sure.
um
See, I don't get into that. I've been lucky. Eh, I'm not really like a outside of the games, but when it comes to systems, I don't try to find complete in box because I just know the for the condition that I would want if I'm gonna have it, it's gonna be crazy money, and then it's like more. So I've been able to avoid getting bitten by that bug where I'm like, I want all this stuff in box. I do have some like somewhat rare systems in box, but I didn't seek them out that way. It just happened to be like, here's this Apple Pippin that I need. I want an Apple Pippin. I need one. And the best deal I can find right now is for one that's complete in box, so screw it, I'll just buy it. But normally, I'm like, "What's the cheapest I can get this?" Knowing that I can clean it, I can recap it, I can do all the mod work myself, so I'll even find ones that are looking a little rough, as long as I know that I'll be able to restore them to relatively, like, near mint condition. But, yeah, that's a once you get into that level where you're like, "I want this really weird, rare esoteric system, and I want the box and all the manuals for it," it's yeah, that's just like nosebleeds these days.
Yeah, and I've gotten to where, like, with the Sega stuff, I have a couple bins just entirely boxed, everything boxed. I have, Genesis Model 2 in the box with everything,
Okay.
Sega CD Model 2, 32X, a bunch of accessories, cables, controllers, adapters, power adapters even, in the boxes, and, like, I have all that stuff just tightly cubed together in a few bins, and, I just kinda look at that as like that's a history bundle right there, and I
Sure.
don't really touch it, but,
Okay.
I do have a box Model 1 Sega CD, in which it needs a couple inserts, in which if I, think about it, I'll go buy a piece that's missing. I think
eBay. You can find that stuff all over eBay, yeah.
I pretty much have everything. I think I just need to look at the software bundle that might be missing that, one of them, Modern
Gotcha.
Rock or something disc,
Sure, sure.
but anyways, what is your plans with the business? As in, like, do you wanna keep expanding or make this your primary source of work or just keep things going at the current pace?
Oh, I've thought about that a lot. I've I mean, if I could make it work, if I could make the numbers work where I could do this as my job, my and I mean, there are a few people in the scene I'm aware of that do this full time, permanent. I just haven't been able to justify it. I have a pretty good career in IT. It's relatively stable, pays really well, like enough where like the volume I would have to generate doing this modding work would be astronomical. And I value being comfortable. And so like I've thought about it, but I just haven't figured out the math that could make that work. So my plan is just to keep going as it is. Sometimes I hit moments where I'm like, I don't know how much longer I can do this at this pace where I'm working my regular job 40 hours a week. And then, we got constant house projects and things going on with kids. And then I'm down there till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in my shop on a Saturday and Sunday and weeknights. So it kind of ebbs and flows, but the pace I'm at now is pretty manageable. And I think it's where I kind of see myself doing this for the long haul, probably as long as I'm going to do it for, which who knows? I'd like to think I kind of thought like, well, if I could just do this until I reach retirement age, it would be like if am still capable of sitting there, my vision's still good enough where I can do micro soldering and all this kind of stuff. It would be a great retirement gig, right? Like I
Mhm.
retire, I've got my, investment stuff, I've got my social security, and then I can go down here and just make a little extra money that can, pay for my coffee that I go out and get every once in a while or whatever else kind of nonsense stuff. And it also keeps me busy, but I am still 25 years away from retiring, assuming I retire on time.
Right.
It's a long time away. I don't know. Like, I've never had a hobby outside of playing games itself that I've been able to keep an interest in doing for that long. Um, so hard to say, but at this point, like, I'm feeling good. I've got a good repertoire going with a customer base. It's solid, it's steady, it's not too overwhelming. So yeah, I'm just kind of gonna keep rocking it like this as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I feel the hobby of gaming needs folks like you to expand upon the old hardware capabilities and to take them into future for modern plays. So, do you feel your services are purely technical thought, or do you feel it's a work of art?
Um, Interesting. I'd say I think it's probably 95% technical because it's really just executing on something that, especially in my case, I've done way too many times to count, right? Like where there's not a lot of art involved in some stuff. Like, if I'm just cleaning the console, if I'm replacing the capacitors, that's really just you just have to execute correctly on it. The only time like you could maybe start calling it a bit of an art is when it comes down to things that you can do or you can put your spin on. So like wiring, really, I guess in a weird way, that would be the one part of it that's kind of a little artistic is like, let's say I'm installing a triple bypass. That's a really common service. Unless you go get one of Zaxor's flex kits, which I highly recommend. They're quite awesome, especially if you're someone that maybe isn't comfortable doing advanced soldering. It actually is a lot easier. If you're gonna wire it up the old-fashioned way, which I do get requests for, you can go out there and technically strip each individual wire. They can be all mismatched. They don't have to be the same length. They could all be the same color, and as long as they are technically connected from point A to point B, and you haven't melted the insulation back or shorted anything, and it functions, you're good. I obviously don't like to operate that way. I like to make sure everything is running in one uniform strand. I like to see a lot of color in it. I like to do nice, clean bends at 90-degree angles and folds. So that's kind of, I guess, in a weird way, you could say it's a little bit of an art form to it. And
Yeah.
everyone has their own way of doing it. I think once you reach a certain skill set, you'd have a hard time unless you saw enough of them or followed the people in question to really decipher, like, one person's from another. I mean, I think it's easier to look at it and say, like, "Oh, that was clearly done by someone that's done this a lot," but once you get to that level, they kinda there's only so many ways you can do something, but, yeah, I'd say that's probably the one aspect that's a little bit art-like to it.
Yes, I totally agree. I think that I personally feel that what you guys do is it's a work of art. You know, you guys are uh taking someone's vision of, we're going to modify uh this to a future capability, which improves the actual graphics at a digital level versus the old analog, how they built them. And then you have all these people that argue about left and right. It should look that way versus what you're
Uh,
doing. But I feel
sure.
like it's an art form, and to be able to take your hands and be able to bring that vision to life on something that wasn't there is
Sure.
very artful. It's not just, you're a manufacturer. I
Oh,
mean,
right, yeah,
a
we're
and
not like a assembly line, like, yeah, this is all done by hand, so I guess in some ways you could even go further, right? Like, things that I don't feel, like, artful, only just because, like, to me, it's just very routine. Like, if you send me something, like, there's only so many ways I can solder these capacitors on here, but I guess in a way you could make an argument that, well, how secure are they to the board? How smooth and how shiny and nice and even are your vias now or your solder blobs on there where the legs are connected? Like, there's a lot of variables, believe me. I mean, I've seen the wide range. Like, even when I started out, I'm not going to act like the first time I ever soldered a capacitor onto a motherboard, it looked amazing. It probably looked like shit if we're being honest, but
Mhm.
I put in the time. So yeah, I guess to your point, even something as simple as that in theory, um,
Yep.
is representative of developing a skill that takes time, and there is an art to that, I suppose. So I should
Yep.
give credit more to that aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, nice,
Mm.
shiny connections
Like
in that. I
uniform
mean,
joints and yeah,
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 yeah, and the wiring aspects of all that, the bends, making
sure.
sure the stuff's not cut back too much. I mean, that's very artistic, man. That's
Yep,
awesome.
yep,
So, I guess, Jeff, it's been great talking with you today, and we're getting pretty long here. I really enjoyed chatting with you, man. You're
same. Thank you.
you're really awesome, man. So I guess, like, do you currently have any social media, like, X or YouTube?
Yeah, I'm all just, no video platforms. I don't record content. Um, so X, I still call it Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter forever. I know. It's just, um, I do have a Blue Sky account, I have a Facebook account, and I have Instagram. So those 4 are my bread and butter. That's where I go on and I post my jobs. It's kind of a little tedious some days because you're basically posting the same thing 4 times, but each platform has its own limitations. Like X can only have so many characters, whereas Blue Sky can have more, but you can only have 10 images on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of work, but I have a small base of people that follow me and like my stuff on each one. So I try to keep all 4 active equally.
S so what is that? Is that, what's the name of your channel?
Oh, so on Twitter and Blue Sky, I'm on there as Retro Jeff 83. Um, and on Instagram and Facebook, I'm if you just search Jeff Retro Gaming, you'll find me. I don't know what my exact tag, like user tag on there is.
Okay, yeah. No, that's awesome. Who designed your logo?
Um, I actually don't remember. I when I was first starting out and I had the site, I didn't even have one, and then I had to go through a process. I hired a company to help me do some stuff on the site because it's just a WordPress site, but there were still some things that I couldn't quite wrap my head around. And they were like, "Oh, well, since you're already having us do this, we'll throw a logo together for you real quick. And it'll only be like $50." I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool, let's do it." And they're like, "What's your kind of theme?" And we just talked about retro and they came up with the TV set. Just kind of worked out. I mean, I've thought about kind of rebranding because again, when I started, it wasn't really modding wasn't I didn't know that was gonna be what I was gonna pivot to fully. So, I thought about rebranding at some point, but honestly, I'm too lazy, and now that I've got this, you know, history of all my posting, like some of the sites you go to, if you go to Twitter and you're searching for a specific thing, it could be a certain mod or a console or something, my name is the first thing that'll come up when you search for it. So now I've kinda got this I don't wanna change that, so, um,
Yeah, totally. I
it
think
can
you're
feel like I'm kinda sticking with it now,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
like it. It
Yeah,
looks really cool, man. I like that.
thank you.
So, man, it's been great chatting with you today.
Same.
I hope that, you continue to do well on your channels, and, I hope this helps, get some more word out to some of the masses, and, I really hope that, I can get a console India one of these days. I wanna get a PS1 done, and then I have, Game Gear, in which we've chatted a little bit about that.
Yeah, yep, with the new
S
screen and all that,
Yep, yep, and,
and a
yep,
much needed recap, I'm sure. Those things always need a recap as well.
yeah, so everyone be sure to check out Jeff's Retro Gaming, and, this is Master Welch, and Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add at the end here?
Thanks for having me on. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. I've actually never done a talk with anybody before or a chat of this nature, so it's pretty cool. I appreciate you taking the time, and, if anyone does find me out there for work, I would love to work on your system. I just hope you'll understand that, the queue system I have is deliberate and for a reason, but I try to respond to everybody. So it might take a little patience, but if you can hang in there, I would love to work on your stuff.
Jeff, that's terrific, man. You did awesome, man. I Really enjoyed chatting with you, and we hit some cool aspects in there on the 3DO. I think was kind of a cool little discussion topic. So if you ever want to talk 3DO again and teach me some stuff, I'd love to hear it.
Sounds good.
All right,
Absolutely.
folks. We'll chat at you later. This is Master Welch saying see you later, and see you in the next one.